right, everybody. Welcome to the New Element Awards 2017 edition. Thank you for joining us this evening. We got a great show lined up. Tonight's hosts are Trav. Trav, say hello. Nice try. We've also got G-Force on board. G-Force.
Hello.
Yappy coming in from Belgium.
What's up, New Element?
And myself, Intamin22. I'll mostly be typing. It's been a fantastic year for New Element. We've seen an exceptional number of spotlights. And this year, the awards turnout has also been great. We got about 60 votes again. The ceremony is going to be pretty similar to last year's. We're going to introduce an award, have some discussion among the hosts about who was nominated, what we think is going to win, and then we'll tell you the results. And then we will open the chat so you can discuss, send your congratulations to the winners, and then we'll move right along. Throughout the evening, there's going to be a couple of breaks, so you can go get a new drink and or feed your dog, whatever. Stay tuned as well for some special announcements after awards, as is tradition.
Yeah, you're right. It's been a fantastic year for RCT and New Element in general. So an influx of so many great new members, all releasing quality stuff, and the amount of spotlights we've seen.
So I think that we should just get right into it with the first award, to be honest.
Yeah, perhaps.
The first award that comes up tonight is the Best Screenshot Award. So the Best Screenshot category is a Best of the Best award, which pits the winners of the screenshots of the month against each other. So shout out to the community efforts, I think Scoop in particular, for organising that monthly poll in regards to the screenshots. It's been really good to collate everything together and get a good idea of what the month-on-month basis and being able to compare it like that. We have had some fantastic screenshots this year coming from people like Fisch, all the big main hitters that you think of when you think of Parkmakers throughout this year. Do you guys have anything to say in regards?
Well, it's true. There have been such a great amount of screenshots, and the quality of them as well has been amazing. I can imagine Scoop having quite a hard time selecting what should have been eligible in the polls because there's so many good things to choose from.
That's very true, but we do have to pick a few favorites, so I'm just going to get right into the results. So in third place, we've got Empire 3 by Liam. This is the Roman-looking one with the big red B&M. Fantastic screenshot, really clean looking all around. Just a really good screen overall. In second place, we've got The Junkyard by Alex. This was his entry into the NEDC, and it really showed us a style that we've not really seen before, so well deserved there as well. In first place, Eldorado by Fisch, which just uses some fantastic colors throughout and really showcased what you can do if you try to create a big themed area in the modern day. So what do you guys think to that?
I think it's a well-deserved screenshot from a highly discussed and talked about project from the entire year. I mean, Fisch has been a member for such a long time, and this screenshot really represents the progress he has made the last few months, especially with this project Riverland. And I think we might see this coming back a few times tonight.
I agree. I think one of the best things about this screenshot is how compact it is. So you've got the area on the left-hand side, which is with the big red arrow coaster. Then you've got the actual action with the iconic drop coming out of the temple, which it's been done a few times before, but I think Fisch has done it really well here as well.
Yeah,
I would like to mention I really enjoyed how he sort of placed this area in the park, and it's very centrally located, and you go through the entrance and you can kind of see it in the distance, and sort of the way he was able to fit the area in a realistic and also not compromising the theming was quite impressive.
Well, a big congratulations to Fisch for winning Screenshot of the Year 2017. Well deserved.
So we'll move on to our second award of the Best Foliage and Landscaping. this is a big favourite award of mine because I think one of the most underrated aspects of park making is foliage and landscaping. Doesn't tend to get as much of a shout as things like architecture or ride design and things like that. But I think without good foliage and landscaping, you're just not going to be able to create those atmospheres that you want to create. So in this agnostic nominations coming up and some well-deserved winners as well. We do have quite a heavy NEDC representation across the category, but that hasn't really shown massively in the actual results. So we'll get straight into it here. So in third place with 10 votes, we've got Riverland by Fisch, already on for his second award with Riverland. And then we've got a tie for first place, both with 12 votes. We've got the ultimate meme itself, Ghoul by Steve. And then sharing the spotlight with Steve is Steve with Veterous Shores. So there we go by Steve.
Yeah, apparently people just really like how he does trees and the natural landscaping. It was interesting to see some of the NEDC nominations here, especially Ukiyo by Scoop and a couple others that used sort of non-traditional landscaping.
Definitely. I think Ukiyo is a fantastic example of what you can do with like floating islands and things like that, definitely. But I think Ghoul, especially by Steve, showed us something just a little bit different with his sort of autumnal feel of it, the fall feel. Shores just has amazing landscaping throughout just to create such good atmospheres throughout the whole park.
I tend to agree with that. I've tried autumn foliage before and I can tell it's not easy. It's not easy to make it natural because the colors are very quick to overtake everything. So Steve, my congratulations. I take my hat off for you for doing the autumn theme brilliantly.
And another hat tip for you to Steve for the double whammy there as well. I think next we're heading over to GeForce for the next awards. So GeForce, take us away.
All right, guys. So next we have Best Architecture, which is obviously a very big award here on New Element, given we are all very into architecture. So here we go. So in third place with 4 votes, we have Mirage Island by New Element, the first ever New Element multiplayer park. In second place with 9 votes, we have Runaland by Legume. And then in first place, unsurprisingly, with 37 votes, we have Riverland by Fisch.
That's a big margin, 37 votes.
Wow, that is indeed quite a lot.
I'm surprised to see Mirage Island so low because I think one thing that people thought Mirage Islands did really well was the architecture. If you looked at the entrance area, if you looked at Nepal, if you looked even at the Scandinavian areas, people seem to love the architecture in that throughout, but I think it did suffer a little bit from the multiplayer aspect of it, meaning everybody had already seen it before it was released.
I think it has to do maybe with inconsistency. With so many different players working on it, the level of quality might not have been as consistent as with Riverland, which basically had only one big player on the entire park.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think the fragmentation of the styles in Mirage Islands kind of hurt a little bit, but that's not to say that Riverland and Groenland were both very, very strong. I'd also say that I think Riverland definitely deserved the margin that it got, considering how special the architecture was and how sort of fresh and new a lot of it felt as well, which at this point in RCT is something that's can be hard to achieve at times.
I definitely agree. I think Riverland showed us what you can do with some old and tired themes if you rejuvenate them. So we've got Best Atmosphere coming up next. I think that this year has been a standout year for atmospheres overall. We've had some fantastic parks throughout which have showcased different areas in different lights, things that we may never have seen before. And all 3 of these parks coming up deserve to be on there completely. So in third place with 10 votes, we've got Groenland by Legume. In second place, we've got Veterous Shores by Steve with 18 votes. And your winner for best atmosphere tonight is Riverland by Fisch with 28 votes. Overall there, we've got a mixture between sort of the realistic styles of Gronelund with the more sort of unique, not realistic either, the old school feelings of Veterous Shores by Steve, and then Fisch somewhere sort of in the middle.
I'm thinking we are starting to see a new sort of realism and new element with these parks like Gronelund and Riverland, moving away from this dirty, gritty feel from the Americans from the early 2010s and moving towards a more fun and colorful approach. And I can only cheer for that. I'm happy with that movement because we've seen the old American style. No offense to G-Force, who still is a master of that, but I'm glad to see it more diversity in it and being recognized by the community.
Not a fan of the dirty Americans, huh, Jappy?
No offense to the dirty, gritty American realism, but I'm glad to see a different movement rising up.
Definitely,
No,
but I think it's also...
even G-Force himself is headed that way based on his NEDC entry and some of his other recent screens.
Exactly, yeah. You look at his Moroccan screenshot thing, and you look at people like Saxmen who are up and coming, and you sort of see a little bit of that sort of Lagom realism mixing into the more old American feel realism. So I think it's definitely a good thing that we're heading in that direction, but maybe next year we'll see a bit more American realism come back with maybe some surprise releases.
Well, the new sort of American realism G-Force recently released with his 2018 park already, Euclid Beach. I'm very interested to see that more, swinging the balance more towards the derelict park theme, perhaps.
Definitely. Anyway, let's head on to the next award. So the next award is the Best Area Award. This showcases some of the best areas that we've seen across all of our parks, whether it's in the spotlights, whether it's in the gold parks, the silver parks. We've just taken the best of the best, basically. And in third place, with 10 votes, we've got Port of Entry in Mirage Islands by a mixture of everyone, really, wasn't it? I think Liam sort of headed up the area, but then everyone sort of chipped in here and there. In second place, with 14 votes, is El Dorado in Riverland by Fisch, making a comeback from the screen that we mentioned earlier. And in first place, with 18 votes, doing the double, is Alpenland in Riverland by Fisch.
Yeah, really impressive to get two areas up in the top two here.
I think we can start to see who's going to be the big winner of the night in general.
Definitely, it's already starting to look that way. Fisch is already steaming ahead, winning first place in all three of the AAAs there, the best architecture, the best atmosphere, and the best area. And in each one, he's won it by a considerable amount as well, so...
Everybody loves Fisch.
We're going to open text chat for a few minutes so you can discuss how these three A's are related to each other and congratulate Fisch for his wins.
Yeah, congratulations very much.
So how do you think atmosphere and architecture create a good area, Trav?
So for me, an area isn't just about the architecture that's inside the area. So yeah, I think that if you look at the areas that have been mentioned in there, something like Alpenland and El Dorado, I think the best thing about them is the framing of the area. So as G mentioned earlier with El Dorado, the fact that you can sort of see it as you come into the entrance and the way that it's positioned in the park is what makes it so strong. The same with Alpenland, but on a different level. So because it's right next to the train station and the town next to that as well, it sort of gives it a more towering feel. It gives it a bigger feel with that huge hotel there.
So is it about what's in the area or is it about what the area relates to?
Both. I don't think you can have one without having the other, really.
To be
Interesting thoughts there. So I'm going to close text chat and we'll go ahead and move along.
Interesting to see what people are thinking in text chat as well, though. So we've got a lot of rigged. Alpenland was the worst area in Riverland. Dirty Americans. more dirty Americans.
Stop laughing with that. It's my first award, for God's sake.
Fisch sucks, which is getting quite a lot of reactions there as well. But to be honest, you've got a few people in there saying that that Alpenland was the worst area, but you guys voted for it.
I'm not gonna lie, I voted for it as well. Right, shall we do the next award?
Yeah, Trav is next going to present Best Other Attraction.
Is it me? Could it not be Yappy?
Yeah, I can do it as well.
Yappy, take it away.
Well, the next category we have is Best Other Attraction, which means, of course, rides except for roller coasters. This was an interesting year as well, with OpenRCT 2 bringing up quite a lot of new possibilities to do stuff. In the third place, we have, with 3 votes, Tikal Falls in Vaderous Shores by Steve. In second place, with 22 votes, the Go-Karts in Mario Kart by Big Shooter Gill. And in first place, with 33 votes, the Miniature City in Riverland by Fisch. So congratulations again to Fisch for winning yet another category.
No big surprise here. I think there was a lot of outcry in the nominations thread when we didn't originally have that on the list.
Yeah, to come from not even being nominated originally in the nomination list to winning it with an 11-vote margin just goes to show that this is the Fisch show, really.
Yeah, well, I can't blame him. I mean, that miniature area is so great.
It is a really good area, but I think that we should give a little bit more love to the go-karts in Mario Kart as well. Every single one of those go-kart tracks was so well detailed and had so many references to the games. Things like the crabs and all that kind of stuff. It just made up for such a great park that I think hasn't really been talked about as much as some of the other parks this year.
Yeah, perhaps. I should agree with that. Big Shooter Gill put so much love and dedication in replicating the original feel of the Mario games that it's kind of sad that it's often overlooked last. It's not a spotlight that's talked about that much.
I think the feel of the go-karts is actually really important here, even if the go-kart layouts weren't exactly to the tracks in-game, even though they were pretty close. I mean, the feeling that it gave was really cool.
Yeah, I definitely think he did a pretty incredible job replicating the different tropes and themes from the actual go-karts in the games and implementing them into RCT in a way that you can both appreciate them in like an RCT sense, but also if you are a fan of the games, you can also, draw those connections there and get a little bit more out of it. And as far as the miniature city, I just want to praise the creativity and the object usage for the sort of the mini architecture. I don't think I've ever seen something sort of that creative in its usage of different objects to replicate a miniature city like that. It's pretty impressive. And also the great custom ride done by, I think it was Space K who did that.
Yeah, I think we shouldn't forget that Space K actually contributed quite a lot to the community lately with all his miniature trains and boats and just building everything we asked, actually.
Is it Spacek or Space K or?
I used to call him Spacek, but apparently it's actually Space K.
I thought it was Space K.
He'll be Space K for now.
Right, GeForce, are you doing the next award?
Yes, I can do the next one. All right, so we have Best Hill Coaster, which is probably one of my, the best coaster was probably my 2 favorite. So in third place with 9 votes, we have Dueling Blades in Riverland by Fisch. In second place with 11 votes, we have Steppenwolf by RCT Today, the NCSO design invert. And then in first place with 12 votes, we have the NEDC4 layout by Lewis, which we all had a chance to experiment with in the NEDC contest earlier this year.
Well deserved, to be honest, I think. I mean, that layout is so good.
I really showed how good the layout was, the fact that we had so many different designs spawned from it, each looking like completely. You had things like Yukio, and then you had things like the one Interstellar by Shotguns, as well as having the more traditional looking ones. I think it really goes to show how that layout was just ahead of everything else that was brought out this year.
Does yeah, and G-Force, go ahead.
I was just going to say I want to give a lot of credit to Steppenwolf just because I think the placement of the elements in Steppenwolf was very well done, and sort of the way he integrated it with the terrain. Sometimes inverts can get a little bit stale, but I definitely think he did a good job all around with that one, and sort of building the design to focus on that layout, which is ultimately what a design really should do. And then obviously doing blades was pretty impressive as well, with the interaction and the sort of the timing of the different elements. We don't really see blitz coasters that often in RCT, so cheers to him for choosing a unique ride type.
Yeah, well, we don't have to forget that between Steppenwolf and Lewis's NEDC4 layout, there was just one vote of difference. Who knows? It could have been a tie. It could have even been Steppenwolf that won. It was so close.
Before we move on, I feel like I do have to give a shout out to Table with Umbrella as well, or whatever it was called by Leon Pye. Seen as the chat seems to be calling for it. Yes, yeah. That was one that was released as well.
We don't need to talk about that one.
Oh, that was NE art. Just art.
More like any embarrassing. All right. Next award is obviously Best Wooden Coaster. Another very strong group this year. In third place, we actually have a three-way tie. We have Oathkeeper and Vatera Shores by Steve. I believe it's pronounced Rochbatch by Poke. And then we have El Diablo and Blue Oak by Shotguns. Second place with 12 votes, we have K-Man and The Bayou by Coco. And in first place, we have Musket by Kumbo, which received 17 votes. The only LL coaster to place in the top three. And I would just want to say that Musket's obviously been under construction for quite a long time, and seeing it actually released this year was quite a treat for anybody who enjoys LL. And I definitely want to give a lot of credit to Kumba and the other members who built on that with him, finally getting that out, and for also creating a pretty awesome wooden coaster layout.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was great to see Musket finished after what seems to be quite a while of building on it. I don't think it got as much of attention as it should have done because it's LL, but over the next couple of years, we'll start to see more and more LL integratedness into Open RCT2, so more and more people should be able to see it.
Yeah, it's definitely true.
I agree with that. At this point, I think if you aren't able to watch LL Parks because of, well, perhaps if you don't have Open RCT1, you should at least see it in its bare bones in Open RCT2. The integration facility is there, so watch it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that everyone should check out, even if they can't view it in the purest form. Okay, I guess we're going to move on to the next award, which is sort of a more overarching category, which is Best Ride Design. Okay, so in third place with 8 votes, we have Mirage Islands by New Element. In second place with 9 votes, we have Cornerland by Legume. And then once again, with 24 votes, blowing everyone else out of the way, is Riverland by Fisch. And I just want to say, again, Riverland, I think, like we said with the miniature city, it just had some really special ride design and really special theming that sort of elevated the coasters and different rides. And then also, obviously, the presence of all those custom track rides, produced by Space K, that really gave it a unique feel and a unique atmosphere, and sort of elevated it above the other entries.
Yeah, this is an interesting category. It's hard to know as a voter whether this means whether they're themed well, whether they were picked out well for what that park is in terms of the scale of the park or what should be there in reality. But I think Riverland is probably the best of all of those worlds.
Yeah, it really is a pretty open category. I think usually, at least for me, I try to view it as sort of layouts and how they sort of elevate the layouts and achieve the goal of the park, whether that be heavy theming or fantasy or whatever it is. But I definitely agree with the order of finish here. I think they were all well deserving.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think the River it's not even just based in the coasters themselves. So the selection of flat rides was great. The little theatre, adding that in there was great as well. But I think Gronalund as well was in a similar sort of situation. Obviously, that lends itself to real life really nicely as well. But I think Gronalund gave us some nice, unconventional layouts that we otherwise wouldn't see.
No, I completely agree with that.
Do you think there's room for unconventional layouts in these kind of awards, the coaster layout awards and the ride design award?
I was probably going to say the exact same thing that you were, in that I think that going forward, there is definitely room for it, but only if it's something that becomes more prevalent, because at the moment, it would just be the Lagom show for that, I guess.
Yeah, ultimately, I think you can pretty much do anything you want as long as sort of it achieves the goal that the Parkmaker sets out with the park, and that the theming and the scenery around it sort of elevates it. At least for me, I don't really look at, does it achieve, a realistic thing that I want to see. It's kind of more, what is this park trying to do? And if the ride design in the park achieves that very well, then I would put that over any other specific style or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a really nice thought. I agree with that. So let's go ahead and get started with the second round of awards here, so we can get towards that Best Park award. I'm going to go ahead and lock text chat, and then Yappy is going to go ahead with Best Logo.
Actually, Trav is going to take over these first two awards, because otherwise it would be 5 in a row for me.
Okay, so straight on to Best Logo. We've sort of seen a bit of a renaissance with logos, I feel, over the site over the past couple of years. I think that we've had a couple of older members, such as HPG, come back, who seem to be fantastic with their logo making. We've still got Liam, we've still got Intmin, but it just feels like logos are really making a comeback, and I really like that. Maybe some point in the future we might even see something like the old park write-ups. But straight into the awards now then. So in third place with 8 votes is Warbird Cove by Intmin. In second place with 16 votes is Ghoul by HPG, which means that our winner is Blue Oak Amusement Park by HPG with 18 votes. So pretty close there, with first and second place, both by HPG, making his comeback, as I said earlier.
Yeah, thanks to HPG, especially for all these great logos we've seen in the last few years. It's so great to see them as an important part of the park as well. It's such a big part of the presentation, and it adds to the atmosphere.
Yeah, I definitely think it adds a lot of professionalism to the releases and sort of makes them feel more complete and make more of an impact on you when you're viewing the park. And like Jappy said, gives a lot more to the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's part of the New Element package, right? Even from 2002, we really tried to set ourselves apart from other sites by being professional in our presentation, by having the full-size overviews, having park write-ups, having these logos. It was really just part of the whole site brand, and it's nice to see it's continuing.
Exactly. If you look at both of the two that HPG scored high with there, Blue Oak and Ghoul, they just look fantastic with how clean they are and their colours on them, especially on Ghoul. The colours on that logo are just perfect overall. So we'll get into the next award, which is the Design of the Year. Obviously, we've had a very good year with designs over the past 12 months, with things like the NEDC just taking us to a whole other level of what we've seen, of what we can see. And we've even had our LL contingency in there with things like Musket. And as Intman says, we have spawned the best meme of all time with Ghoul. So let's see what the NEDC has given us this year. In third place with 12 votes is Musket by Cumber. Second place with 16 votes is Steppenwolf by RCT2 Day. And in first place with 18 votes, we've got Junkyard by Alec.
I think
So, not even on the podium.
No cool, but we did see Junkyard on there, so we have still got an NEDC representative.
Our long representation of NEDC. That's okay though. I think with NEDC it's hard because they're all this like the same layout, so choosing one over the other. I think just the nature of the voting, sort of people are going to choose one and not the other, and I don't know. I feel like it'd be hard for all three of them to be NEDC, but I definitely want to give a lot of credit to both Junkyard. I don't think we've talked about that at all yet, and how creative the track texture and the use of stationary rides and trains and scenery was. I don't think we've ever really seen something that sort of unique with sort of track in quite a while, and it definitely added a very fresh take on RCT2. And then obviously we have the NCSO design with Steppenwolf, which is also very strong. And again, RCT2 Day just adds more to his NCSO profile, sort of expanding on his style. And then sort of the big surprise to me was Musa coming in third. I thought that would have won for sure. It was definitely the favorite of the panel if you go by score, but I guess I'll say that it being LL kind of might have hurt it in this voting, just because fewer people are able to see it. But that doesn't take anything away from the top two.
I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah, so do I. I think the thing is with Alex's Junkyard, it's not just the fact that it's the layout, which is great, because otherwise we should have given the award to Lewis. But I think it's the fact of the way it's integrated with all these great objects and this atmosphere it portrays, of course, which makes it a favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting to see Steppenwolf coming in quite high positions as well, because I know for me personally, I completely forgot that it was even released until the awards came around and the nominations came out. It was a fantastic design, but I think it just got looked over a little bit. But evidently not. That was just in my mind.
Yeah, I guess just because there's been so much released this year. I believe that was actually before the NEDC contest. I think it was in March or February. I guess it was so long ago that you kind of forget about it until you see it pop up again in the voting. But it's good. I think it's good that we can draw sort of second wave of attention to some of these releases.
All right, and with that, I think it's time to move on to the best idea of 2017. Unless anyone objects, of course.
No, go ahead.
All right, then. Best idea of 2017. These can be gimmicks or any other weird idea. But in third place with 6 votes, we get, once again, Riverland by Fisch with its football match. In the second place with 9 votes is the Aloha sign in the NCSO release Sandwich Springs, which Liam has made, which is written here as Lima P, but we'll gloss over that. And in the first place, with a massive 27 votes, are the moving traps in Mario Kart by Big Shooter Gill. Congratulations, Big Shooter Gill, you're not here, but well deserved.
Yeah, I think this was probably one of those moments when it's sort of such a small little thing that you might not see it upon the first viewing, but if you are watching the go-karts on the, I cannot remember what track it is, but it's sort of one of those things that you don't expect, and all of a sudden when it happens at the end of the track, it's a very shocking, surprising. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how we actually achieved that. So whenever that's the case, you got to give a lot of credit to the builder for developing an idea and actually using it in such a clever and fitting way. So definitely 100% agreed on the result here that Big Shooter Gill. wins.
Yeah, it's interesting how this category isn't just coming up with a cool hack or something. It's also about making that fit into the context of the park and presenting it well. I think it's especially fitting that we see an NCSO park in this podium, because that's really where I think a lot of the cool new ideas are coming from.
I think the fact that the NCSO park has won is also because it is a community park. I mean, quite a lot of people, including myself, worked on that.
I think what you also need to remember with Sandwich Springs is the entire reason for that park existing is because Liam realized that he could make an Aloha sign. And he was like, we are now making a park where I can put in Polynesian themed areas. So I think that that's one of the reasons why it has come so high.
Oh, so that's the reason why.
Yeah, I actually did not know that. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's the entire reason why we had an NCSO park.
Okay then. I never knew that.
All right.
The next award we've got lined up for you is the most original release. In the third place we have with 5 votes. Wait, this is being added.
Just start with the second place.
Yeah, just go for second.
Right. Second place, we got a tie, actually, with 6 votes each. We got quite an overlooked little park, Timmy's Muffin Mountain by Interman22, and Liam's NEDC4 art, Table with Umbrella. But the winner of this category with first place with 34 votes is Mario Kart, once again by Big Shooty Gill. Congratulations for this, and I think also quite deserved, to be honest. We haven't
that's
really,
a big margin.
Yeah, we haven't really seen an adaptation of a game other than RCT so well in RCT.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I feel like past attempts at replicating another video game have kind of fallen flat. Most notably is obviously the BioShock park from, I believe it's Head-to-Head 5, which sort of completely missed the ball, but for Big Shooter Gale to do it so well with Mario Kart makes it definitely deserve award.
It's a spotlight that won without any roller coasters or any rides. Well, one roller coaster and barely any rides. I think that goes to speak volumes about the quality of everything that's just in that park and how original it is and how it just seemed to bowl everyone over at the time.
I tend to agree with GeForce massively because of doing video games on RCT isn't really a new concept. People have been talking about it and attempting it in the past, but like you said, they rarely succeed. So to see this now work is just mind-blowing.
Okay, anything
So I'm a little insulted that I'm on the same vote number with Table with Umbrella here.
Yeah, I would have done
Chat
that.
loves it. Chat wants to see more Table with Umbrella. Table with Umbrella for Best Park 2K17. There you go, spoiled it for you.
I should note I'm sarcastic a little bit here, but it's interesting to see people appreciated how original that concept was to build the entire park out of the umbrella object.
I think we should actually give credit to Nickman as well for making the Table with Umbrella a meme.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
Right, GeForce, you can present Best Realism.
All right, so obviously this is my favorite award. Most realistic release. I guess this is sort of most/best realistic release. And so in third place, shockingly, with only 6 votes, is Riverland by Fisch. In second place, with 10 votes, is Adventureland by GeForce. And in first place, with 32 votes, is Gronaland by Legume. And I definitely, I take no offense to losing Best Realism to Recreation on the quality of Gronaland and the scale. And, you know, like I said earlier, I think it's the 4th highest scoring park of all time, according to the Accolade panel. So it's definitely 100% deserving of this award crown.
I think we are also seeing here how the new realism is beating the old realism, which is also quite funny. But no, Legume actually managed not to create not just a park, but an entire town actually, with all the life that's connected with it. I mean, the plastic factory, the trams, the fire department, the harbor. It's the atmosphere, I think, is what pushed it over the edge.
Yeah, the total package of park and surroundings is definitely executed to a T here. It's really quite impressive. The fact that he just recreated Liseberg the previous year, and then 1 year later come out with Groenland, which is just even more of an improvement on Liseberg. Is pretty impressive.
I think it's pretty interesting to see Riverland in third place for most realistic release, which to me, Riverland so far has been sweeping every award that it's in, and then in this one it comes quite far behind. Do you guys agree with it being so far behind? Do you guys think there is can be considered realistic release? Is that what's keeping it back from here?
I think Riverland can be considered a realistic release, but it's not the fact that it's unrealistic in my opinion, but I think it's because it's pitted against Groenland, which is a complete recreation, of course, as well as Adventureland, to be honest.
Yeah, personally, I think that Riverland, is definitely, fitting for most realistic. I definitely think sort of the way he expanded the park was very realistic manner, and sort of how the areas were built, sort of the transitions between the areas, and how he did like the surroundings and all that. But I do think at the same time, sort of the heavy theming sort of might have taken some votes away from it here, and also going up against a recreation that won a spotlight probably took some votes away from it as well. But I definitely think it's definitely deserving of being on the podium here.
What I think would be interesting to know from chat when we unlock chat next time is if this, instead of being most realistic was release, if it was best realistic release, would Riverland have placed higher than Adventureland, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the award was kind of open to interpretation a little bit here. I don't know if everyone voted, most or best or however, but I think best realistic release versus most. I don't know. I don't know if that would change my vote personally, but it'd be interesting to see what the rest of the community says here.
Yeah, it's interesting. We did debate the phrasing when we created the awards titles this year, and we opted for most realistic just to kind of narrow down what people would be voting on.
Yeah, I do think in the past, sort of, if you have best realistic release and best park, almost always, at least for the past couple of years, the same park wins both. So it sort of becomes unnecessary to have both. And so I think we did achieve our goal in creating, sort of separating the awards a little bit and giving Groenland the spotlight that it deserved.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Okay, next award is Best NCSO Release. And this was definitely a very strong year for NCSO. Obviously seeing the first NCSO spotlight, but in third place with 6 votes is Seven Wolf by RCT Today. In second place with 8 votes is Six Flags Over Texas by Nin. And then in first place with 30 votes is Blue Oak Amusement Park by Shotguns. The first NCSO spotlight, and I think very deserving of this award. And as far as NCSO goes, obviously this park's been under construction for quite a few years. I do think it's kind of had this sort of almost like the BGA effect, where it sort of influences new building, and sort of you see that new influence in parks released before it's actually been finished. I think it just goes to credit how sort of unique his style is with all the architecture roofs, and sort of how he's able to achieve the realistic sort of atmosphere, but also making it very creative and fun. And normally, I would think this park would get a lot more, interest and activity if it wasn't in a year with so much other quality releases and spotlight.
I agree. Blue Oak Amusement Park by Shotguns is a very well-deserved first place, but in this lineup on the podium, I do have to say I miss Sandwich Springs. I'm surprised it didn't make it in the top 3.
Yeah, I think it's a fun little NCSO park with a lot of clever things. But Steppenwolf was nearly an 80% design, and I think a lot of people had an appreciation for the sort of minimalism, which is completely opposite of the style in Blue Oak that we saw Six Flags Over Texas by Nin. So ultimately, I think definitely those four were the strongest in this category, and I think you probably could have swapped Sandwich Springs in, and even the Bayou, the design by Coco, which is very strong as well.
I think the difference.
Public after this, be sure to take a look at the vote numbers.
Yeah.
I think the difference in the number of votes is really telling here as well. So, first place with 30 votes, then everything else with like 6 to 8 votes. It just goes to show how far ahead of everyone Shotguns is when it comes to NCSO.
All right. So next we have
Best LL release, which, again, this is an interesting category this year because we saw a LL spotlight, as well as a very high-scoring LL design. So let's get to it. In third place with 3 votes is The Bastard of Dragon Mountain by Sammy. In second place with 9 votes is Musket by Kumba. And in first place with 30 votes is Yari Palms by BMP. And I would just like to say that, you have 2 very, very high-scoring parks in the top 2 here, and I definitely think those 2 separated themselves out. So we have the Musket, which is probably one of the last holdovers of the Codex era of LL being released this year. And then you have Yari Palms, which is definitely 100% attempt to sort of recreate the old style of LL parks seen in the early days of New Element, with its sort of tropical theming and more minimalistic architecture.
Can I say that it's so great that Loopy Landscape still gets some love today, 20 years after its release. So many years after the release of RCT2, and even 2 years after the release of Open RCT2. It's great to get this old classic still getting a spotlight.
Yeah, I definitely think LL is able to achieve sort of a unique atmosphere and a unique style that we don't often see in RCT2. I do think it's a good sort of change of pace and change of scenery for those who might grow a little tired of the RCT2 style, and sort of an outlet for some different styles of building and different approach to the park making.
I am definitely looking forward to what the merge of Loopy Landscapes and Open RCT2 will hold for the future.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of opportunity in LL style building in the future, should it be fully integrated into Open RCT. And hopefully that will allow, new appreciation to be brought to the LL parks of recent years. And of, obviously, I guess, the past and sort of the earlier spotlights. Okay. We have one more award on my plate here. And this is one of the big ones. We have the 2017 Park of the Year. In third place, we have a tie with 3 votes each. We have Viterra Shores by Steve and Mirage Islands by New Element. In second place with 9 votes is Chronoland by Legume. And then once again in first place with 41 votes is Riverland by Fisch. And the interesting thing about this category this year was, apart from Mirage Islands, all the other nominations were spotlights, which is not often something we get to see. In Riverland, walking away with so many votes is definitely telling of the quality that it was able to achieve, especially going up against such other strong releases.
I think the fact that with Mirage Islands, it's because it's a community project. It was the very first serious multiplayer project launched and hosted by New Element, which soared it to the top. It was a milestone.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fantastic to see so many spotlights on there. Like you say, 3 spotlights out of the 4 that have, out of the 4 parks that are on there, and that's even taking into consideration the multiple other spotlights this year that haven't got more than 3 votes. Whether it's the 2.
You still there, Trav?
Yep, still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're
Cut out for a
back.
moment there.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think it's fantastic to see how alive the game is and how well it's still doing. To piggyback off what Yappy was saying for the LL award, it's great to see 16 years after RCT2 was released that we're still going this strong.
Yeah, I definitely want to give some credit to OpenRCT as well to bringing a lot of new life to the game, and also making it much easier to build and sort of quickening the process. Because we were definitely on a trend before OpenRCT that we might never have been able to get out of, which is just the detailing level that people were trying to achieve was just extending the building process to full-scale parks out so long that it might have just become impossible to really ever finish anything.
Yeah, it's really been some new exciting content to help kind of push New Element along, and it's going to be super exciting to see where multiplayer goes in upcoming times.
I think OpenRCT2 really has started a revolution. Maybe in the future we'll finally see the lifting of the object limit, which make Ghost the Bill, of course, very happy. But...
Yeah, that's another thing in some of the parks this year was sort of the large scenery, making buildings out of one object, which is something that people have been, theorizing to do for quite a while, but I feel like having OpenRCT makes it so much easier just because you don't have to worry about, zero clearance and ghost objects and sort of all the headache that comes with that. It just becomes so much easier to do, and sort of has really opened up a lot of doors for some who are willing to, go down that route and spend hours in the object creator.
Okay, it's time now for us to take another brief intermission, about 5 or 10 minutes once again. I'm going to open up text chat briefly here, and then when we come back, we'll have our final block of awards, our special announcements, so make sure you stick around for those, and we will reveal who had the best boat of 2017.
I think we can move New Element Member of the Year.
Yeah, so this is a big one. This is New Element Member of the Year. This isn't necessarily about a Parkmaker's skill, but more so about what they've contributed to the community over the past 12 months or so. To get straight into it, in third place, it's a tie with 7 votes each between Yappy and Space K. In second place, it's one of our favourite admins with 13 votes, it's Liam Pie. And running away with the victory in first place with over 9 votes is Steve.
Just for those that didn't hear it, Steve won with 9,014 votes, apparently.
I don't know if that number is accurate.
Probably not.
That number is definitely accurate.
There might be a recount.
I can vouch.
It appears Steve has all the Russian bots on his side.
Well, let me just say,
Can we get
as
some
an
rigged
award
in
winner,
chat?
I prepared a lengthy speech for my victory, but I'm going to throw that out of the window since I only ended on the third place. But I do have to say thank you for everyone that voted for me, because I was only expecting 1 vote, and that was mine.
In all honesty, though, I think all the members up there deserve to be up there. Yappy has been a delight to be around this year. He's been helpful all around. Space K has been helping us out with different rides, giving us things that we never thought that we'd see in the game 10 years ago. Liam is just the admin overlord. He seems to be the one who sort of is always there when you need him to be, whether it's helping out in regards to your park when it comes to a little bit of foliage that needs tweaking, or whether it's more behind the scenes stuff, getting maps done, logos. Steve is just Steve. You can't really explain him any other way. He's one of the most charismatic members on the website, and he brings the Discord alive every single day.
I think Steve can be described as New Element's jester or pet, one of the two. The loyal dog that's always here.
Whoa. Most, not least charismatic, most. I didn't say this, Steve. I did not say this.
But no, you're right. Everybody on this list very much deserved it. Space K with his great rides, Liam for actually running the entire side almost, Steve for just being Steve.
All right.
All right, next category. Which is most promising newcomer. That is an award I'm actually very happy I can talk about, because thanks to OpenRCT2 and Reddit, of course, we've had such a massive influx of new talent coming to this game. And, well, there's been so many people to choose from.
Yeah, but weren't you a best newcomer at one point?
I was nominated, but I didn't win, sadly. That was 2015, that's 3 years ago. Am I still a newcomer? Perhaps I am.
I think we only allow people to be nominated for best newcomer once, unfortunately for some.
All right, yeah. Well, such a shame I didn't win in that time. But we do have we have winners now we need to announce. In the third place, they're all very close to be honest. In the third place with 12 votes is Saxman 1089. In the second place with 13 votes is Roy G. Biv. And in the first place with 14 votes is our resident Frenchman, Julo. Congratulations, Julo. You did it.
Congratulations all around, but I think what is important to take away from this is how close the votes are. 2 votes separate third and first place, which just goes to show we've got such a good bunch of promising newcomers that always seem to be coming to the site.
I'm so glad to see that the New Element, a site that people often joke about, is on the verge of dying, because we're talking about, let's not forget, a game of 14-year-old is so alive, and it seems to be getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I definitely want to say all the people on the podium were definitely deserving of not only their position but of winning. It's a very strong group of upcoming players this year.
We actually had just 1 vote separating fourth, third, second, and first.
Yeah.
There you go. It's fantastic to see. And just think, Julo, how many more votes could you have got if you built in all 4 angles?
I've got 4 more votes.
Man, low blow.
Anyway, moving on to the next award, which is Best Non-Parkmaker.
Now, this isn't for people like Liam who don't build parks but build art. This is for people who are not a park maker and who have been around for long enough to no longer be a newcomer.
Exactly. So in third place with 8 votes is Coaster Creator 9. Second place with 13 votes is Yappy. And that means that our first place, Best Non-Park Maker of the Year with 23 votes is Who's Leon?
Oh, I'm so happy Leon made it to first place. I mean, he's literally my favorite player at the moment. The stuff he puts out is so different every single time. I mean, that Borg von Nienoord project he's working on is completely different from that African design from last year.
Yeah, I definitely think Leon has an eye for the game and is very good at matching textures and colors, and also creative rod design and object usage into his parks. I definitely think he has the talents to do some really good things with the game. It is 100% deserving of winning.
I think another great thing about Leon is how quickly he seems to build as well. It seems to be every other week that he's showing screenshots of a new project which he'll finish 2 weeks later. So it's going to be great to see how he evolves over the next year or two as well. And maybe he'll change from being best non-Parkmaker into best Parkmaker.
I also have to thank everybody who voted for me, because on the paper I printed out just an hour ago of the script, I wasn't there yet on as best non-Parkmaker, so that's quite a surprise.
Yeah, there are a lot of changes in voting, right at the last minute, with many categories.
All right, it's time for the final award, I think.
The final voted award, I guess. Final polled award.
It's Parkmaker of the Year. We've had non-Parkmaker, but now we get to honor the masters of the site. In the third place, with 3 votes each, it's Liam and Steve. On second place, with 25 votes, is our grumpy American Shotguns. And on the first place, with 27 votes, how could it be? Fisch. Congratulations for all of you.
Who else would it be but Fisch?
Yeah, I actually want to say this was a very interesting vote this year. I mean, we have Fisch with the very strong Riverland, obviously, and then we had Shotguns, who had 2 RCT2 spotlights in the same year, which if I remember correctly, hasn't been done 2005, I believe. So, a massive achievement by both those players. I definitely think, even only separated by 2 votes, both of them were definitely deserving of winning.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's great to see they were so close between them. 27 votes for Fisch, 25 votes for Shotguns. Both of them deserve to be up there, and I think it could have gone either way, to be honest.
Yeah, both were definitely deserving of winning in the place that they were at.
Yeah, so do I. I believe the same thing. I mean, Shotguns with his spotlights, and even don't forget his NEDC4 entry, which was also pretty amazing. But I don't know why Fisch at the very last moment still won, but I think it's probably because he's been such a long member of the site as well, and its presence over the last year has massively increased.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a rough turnout for Shotguns. I think he was definitely capable of winning several categories here, so it's a little bit of a shame to see him not come out with more.
Okay, and we actually have some special awards this year. Intimate, if you want to take those.
Yeah, absolutely. So that actually wraps up the normal awards segment, where we present all of the awards that were voted for by the community, the things we do every year. But we did want to have a few special shout outs, as we typically do, what we're calling community awards for special achievement or special contributions to the New Element community. So first of all, we want to say a huge thank you to the entire OpenRCT2 development team. That's of course an open source project. These are guys who don't get paid to do it. They all volunteer their time to implement new features, fix bugs, and graciously help us out with New Element specific stuff that we complain to them about on a regular basis. So Intel Orca, Crutonium, Genesisor, Gymnasius, all of you, and especially the members who are active here on the New Element Discord and in the forums, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for continuing to work on OpenRCT2.
I think it might be interesting to tag them in the chat, because none of them seem to be in the voice chat.
None of them are here right now, but I think that we can all appreciate what they've done for the game over the past couple of years. Even if some people don't necessarily see eye to eye with them on everything, I think everybody has the longevity of the game in their best interests.
And most importantly, their patience when dealing with our continuous stream of complaints and oftentimes anger when it comes to some of the problems that arise with the constant development of the game.
Absolutely. Our next Special Community Achievement Award goes to a couple of individuals who have been a huge help this year, also volunteering their own time to create content that everybody can take advantage of, and those are the custom ride creators in our community. So Space K and X7123, whatever other numbers. Huge thanks to those guys for contributing several new things that everybody has been able to benefit from.
We mentioned it earlier when talking about Riverland and how Space K has been a massive help with things like that. But X7 has done something similar with like the cars for the RMC coasters and things like that. Just great all around from both of them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, those trains, I think we might see them pop up in quite a lot of parks in the future.
Yeah, they're definitely having some new, new toys to play with in the game. Definitely adds a lot of replayability and freshens up some of the gameplay in a way we haven't seen in a long time.
Absolutely. So another shout out we want to make real quick is to people who've been making RCT2 content. That includes anybody who's been streaming, anyone who's been making videos, just showing off how you can play RCT2 in a way that's close to the New Element style, in a way that's more than the game was ever intended to be used for, and is helping to draw people into the New Element community. So thanks to Ruyatax or Roy or whatever he's going by now, especially, for putting out some cool videos on how to make cool parks, make cool foliage, and having a really high production quality that really inspires people.
Yeah, it's always great to see high quality RCT being appreciated outside of New Element, especially on a platform like YouTube. I want to give a lot of credit to him for the work he's put in and streaming and the videos he's made, and for actually building in a quality that's quite respectable here on New Element.
I'm getting here tapped on my fingers by the community that I should also do another shout out to X17 for being behind the scenes and developing new track types which might be usable in the future. It's not visible at the moment, but I'm getting told here that I really should mention it.
Yeah, that's another impressive thing that people are doing, is especially X17 or 7.1 or whatever it is sort of creating new things in the game that we never would have thought would be possible a few years ago. Okay, I think that's going to conclude our awards for today. Is there anything else anybody wants to add before we move on to the next part of the night?
I say bring on 2018. It's going to be a fantastic year for RCT.
So that wraps up the awards for now. We're actually going to unlock text chat in a little bit here. I'm going to work on easing back the permissions on the Discord. We hope to see you all in the multiplayer server. We hope to see you all on the site signing up for H2H and checking out the awards results. Thank you all for attending. Thanks especially to our hosts, Yappy and Trav, for stepping in. Everybody, it's been great, and I hope to see you again next year.
Thanks for the surprise interview on voice chat right now. It really means a lot, but honestly, like I've been saying and text chat. Like, I'm overwhelmed kind of with the amount of awards, really. But I feel like people like Shotguns, shout out to him. Even Steve, who's been very vocal on this Discord these last few days, or all the others who created such great parks like Lagome. Big shout outs to them, and I hope that the next year is going to be just as strong for RCT as this year has been.